Welcome back, everybody. We're going to do a really quick one just to start with here to iron out some of the flaws we've currently got with our RPG game. You'll notice that with our game currently, it appears, and we can go and collect a potion, and no matter how many times we go and collect a potion, we just keep accumulating health. We're going to go and fix that. We're also going to add in the key mechanics that we need to set up our XPs and our leveling system that we need for our RPG game. So what we currently say is every time the player makes contact with the potion, add 50. We need to be a little bit cleverer than that. So we're going to improve that with a little bit of logic. We're going to ask if the amount of HP I was going to add, if that adds to greater than my maximum HP, which is a variable we're not currently using, but we have initialized and that's set to 100. If it's not currently up to that, we're going to make that happen. So if my current HP, if I were to add 50 to that, is less than or equal to my max HP, then we do this. And just to remind you where we created max HP, that's in the create. That's the starting settings that we created, and max HP set to 100. Remember, max I've all done lowercase, HP is uppercase in this instance. That's just my naming convention. So we are colliding with the potion. There's a problem here, which is just going to say only do it if you wouldn't go above 100. So that's going to generate that, and now nothing should happen. Whereas that doesn't make sense. Every time you get a potion, it should take you up to your maximum, but no further. So we're going to add a little bit more of an if here, which is, well, if it's not that, therefore, you must instead take us up to our maximum. So what is our maximum? Well, find out what our HP is, which I've done in capitals. Take that from max HP, and that gives you our difference between the two. So if you've got your max HP is 100 and your current HP is 80, that will return a 20, the difference between the two. So then take our HP, and then add to that the difference between the two. So that might take a little bit of thinking about. Again, literally sheet of paper if you find that this helps you to wrap your head around what that bit of code is doing, but that should max it out so it never goes above the maximum threshold. And because we're doing this step of logic first, that will take you up to 50. If it is 50, this will take you up to everything else. That will only take you up to the maximum. Let's see if that works. So I've collected a potion, that takes me up to 80. I've collected another potion, takes me up to 100. Collected another potion, only going to take me up to 100. Next thing we want to fix, though, is that message that keeps popping up. This tree, magical tree as it is, doesn't make sense for it to keep giving us potions, so we're going to change that. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to say that this magical tree is now going to have a new event associated to it. So we're going to apply a create event. We're going to store a variable in here. We're going to keep a record of whether it's already given us a potion or not. Given potion. And by default, that is false. It hasn't yet given us a potion. What I'm then going to say is when the player collides with that tree, so the player collides with the tree, once I've pressed yes, so once I've said yes, I do want to receive this potion, I'm going to ask another question. If the other thing I am contacting has this variable called given potion, so we know that the tree we're touching has this variable called a given potion. If it hasn't yet given a potion to anybody, give a potion, and then change others given potion to true. It has given a potion. And that will lock it out. Notice I'm going to remove the single equals here, turn that into a single equals, and I'm also going to tidy up this line of code because I want this to be nice and nested. And this is just good practice to get in the habit of. I just like doing this using tab again on my keyboard to line things up. Let's talk through the logic of that once more. If we've touched the tree, which was, if you remember from the last time, if we answered yes on that dialog box, do that. Then if they haven't already given us a potion, create a potion, and then keep a record that we've received a potion so we can't get one again. You could use this same trick, but instead of using a variable for true or false like I'm doing here, you could keep a record. You could say, this thing gives 3 potions, or perhaps you've got a game where you've got I'll say inventory system. Imagine you went to some sort of store in a town and you received, there were 3 potions that someone was selling. You could keep a record, they started with 3, then it's 2, then it's 1. Now they can't sell you anymore because you've received all of them. Let's make sure that that works. So, shall I touch this tree? Yes, I'd like to touch this tree. His head's still a little bit bad from earlier. I've received a potion. I had this tree. I remember this tree. Shall I touch it? I touch the tree again. This time it's not delivering any potions, so that's a little bit more polished for us. What I just wanted to show you, though, is that these variables are local variables. So if I were to add a second magical tree into my world, and I'm going to run it in debug mode. If you haven't seen debug mode yet, it's the red arrow which is at the top here. I can use this tool, and I can see the local variables. So I've gone to Tools, Show Local Variables. I'm hovering over my tree, and that will return for me a mouse ID, which appears in this little box here. So that's returning for me 1004, and that's the unique ID for that tree. Again, you might have seen this already. It returns all the properties, all the variables that are associated to that tree, and our new variable at the bottom that we created, given potion. Rather than saying true or false, it returns a 0 or a 1. 0 represents false, 1 represents true. So it hasn't yet given a potion. Once I go and receive the potion from it, it's now given me a potion, it's returned true. But this tree over here is a completely separate tree. It has its own record of whether it's given a potion or not. Again, these numbers may be different for your version of the code. I'm just demonstrating the process here. So this one could give me a second potion. Something that you could use perhaps in your RPG game. So I'm going to remove that from my game though, because we should only have one special tree in our magic game. Next thing I want to do is just set up for the next thing, which is about adding an XP and a leveling up system. Before we add some enemies, we need some way of recording whether we've defeated them. So I'm now just going to go in the Create, Starting Settings, and as well as our max HP and our HP, and I'm going to add one for XP. That stands for experience. Perhaps people that might not have played these kind of games before, we're going to start with 0 XP. And we're going to have our starting level. We're going to start at level 1. That makes sense. All I'm going to do now is I'm going to modify our HP, or I'm going to modify the amount of damage we can do by having a variable called damage output. I may decide to use that later, I may not, which is going to be set to a value. So damage output is going to equal how much damage we're going to do per turn. I'm going to say we start by doing 10 damage. Every time we're going to swing an enemy later on, we're going to do 10 points of damage to that enemy. The way our game's going to work is that every time XP increases, once you get 100 XP, your level will increase. And damage output is going to be times by what your level is. So the first time, it's going to be 10 times by 1, so that's going to do 10 points of damage. When you become level 2, you're going to do 20 points of damage, and then 30, and then 40. Really simple way of doing a leveling system. You could obviously add a lot of finesse to this should you want to. So that's the basics so far. Get yourself up to that stage, and then we'll add some enemies. Well